This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, S-H-O-W, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello and welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. Open line Friday on the show, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I'd love to have you with me. Text Eric to 33777. Get the podcast, the live stream, the show notes, all that. Real quick, though, and importantly, if you will do me a kind favor, if you would text data to 33777, the word data to 33777, and order my book. The publisher tells me the pre-orders are just below 1,000 copies pre-ordered. I'd love to get over 1,000 copies pre-ordered of the book, You Shall Be As Gods. It comes out in only a few more weeks, and we'll do some book signings and things like that as well. But you would do me a kind favor if you did that. Now, look, I know I got to talk about the Scotty Scheffler arrest. It's actually big international news, the golfer getting arrested this morning. Louisville, Kentucky can screw anything up, including this sort of thing. Joe Biden is on tour, but I learned something about myself this week, and I blame y'all. This is I'm not making this up. It's true. When I say something on radio, it goes out of my head. And I will, my old boss, the pig farmer, Pete Spriggs, he would text me during commercial break after a monologue and say, that was so good. And I had no idea what he was talking about. I don't remember what he said. And what I learned this week is I've wanted to talk to you guys about something all week long, starting Monday. And I have had terrible shows this week. And I realize you guys haven't recognized they were bad shows because I've gotten emails from you about how good certain things were and you wanted copies and stuff like that. But I know they weren't my best work because I've had this in my head that I wanted to say to you, and it's blocked everything else. Had a program director, one of the stations the other day, say, man, I can't believe you just did this. This was so good. Send me a copy of it, please. And I was like, no, actually, it sucked. I appreciate it. I mean, I realize my bad radio product is better than anything else you're going to hear in talk radio these days. But still, it wasn't as good as it could have been because this has been in my head and I've been wanting to get it out. And today I'm unleashing and I'm starting the show with it, and I'm sorry. Because a week ago today, in about 5 hours, No, 10 hours from when I'm talking right now. People all over the world in the northern and southern hemispheres got to see the northern and southern lights. People who don't get to see the lights. I, that day on radio, said I wanted to hop on a plane and fly north because I've always wanted to see them and regretted never being able to see them. And then that night, 3,943 miles south of the North Pole in middle Georgia, with our naked eyes, no amplification through cameras or anything like that, we got to see the northern lights. They twirled and they danced across the sky. They lit up the moon and made the sliver of moon look pink and purple. We went out into farm country. It was dark. There were no city lights. In the city, we could see them. With city lights, you could see the pink hues in the sky and the movement. We went out into dark country, and they lit up the night. It was incredible. They waved, they fanned. It looked like folds in space. They projected these long beams that looked like fingers across the sky. I've never in my life seen anything like that. And I actually emailed Tim Cook. I took incredible pictures. The pictures are even better than what you see with your eye. And I emailed Tim Cook at Apple and sent him some of the pictures. Said, you guys should be proud of yourselves. Millions and millions of people around the world with just the phone in their pocket were able to capture the most amazing pictures of this and share it all over the internet with their friends. And it wasn't possible but for the iPhone. And now every phone can do this because of what you guys did. I actually got a very nice note back from him after that. It was incredible. And I noted what a time to be alive. People got to stand outside under the night sky and see something they've never seen before, and it was amazing. And thanks to modern technology, they got to share it with their friends globally. And I put that up on my daily email, and I want to read you the comment from someone. I've wanted to talk to y'all about this since Monday, but there was a reason I needed to wait. This is the man's comment about people going outside, seeing the Northern Lights, being able to share it with their friends in real time. Too bad that about 1 million children murdered in the womb each year will never get to see those Northern Lights. So, although I thank God every day for the life he's given me as a down payment on the greatest gift of all of salvation, I do not see this as a wonderful time to be alive. It's a heartbreaking time to be alive, and this is a heartbreaking country. So I replied to him, way to bring everybody down. And he replied, these decisions of mankind are often frankly putrid, and we live with them and mourn of them. There were almost certainly Northern Lights in AD 65 when Nero was slaughtering Christians in the Colosseum. But I don't think Paul, Peter, and John would have written of how great it was to be alive. Actually, yes, they did. They got to hang out and walk the planet with Jesus Christ, the Messiah. You think they weren't thinking what an amazing time to be alive? Last night, and this is why I waited until today. We'll see if I can do this. Last night, my daughter walked across the graduation stage and got her diploma and turned her tassel. And her mother was there, who 8 years ago was given 2 years to live, and began planning for my daughter's graduation without my wife. I remember having a beer with Charlie one night and looking at him and saying, do you realize I'm going to be a widower before my kids get out of high school, before I'm 50? And I'm still not 50, Philip. Before my kids get out of high school, I was going to be a widower. My wife, like her mother before her, would never see her daughter cross the graduation stage. But she did. She did, because this is an amazing time to be alive. With amazing progress in medicine and technology, do you realize in less than 70 years from Wilbur and Orville Wright getting their plane off the ground in Kitty Hawk, we landed men on the moon and brought them back safely to Earth? It is an amazing time to be alive. You have to make a choice to decide this is a heartbreaking time to be alive in. You have to make a choice that this is a heartbreaking country in which to live. A country that in 2 days will allow millions of people to go worship God, who will send missionaries to countries where they could die. But the people in these churches on Sunday in this country have no fear for their life at all, because we live in this great country. It's not a heartbreaking country. This country will send lots of money to African nations and will save millions and millions of people from death through the PEPFAR program. This country has expanded adoption across racial lines greater than any time in the past 100 years. More children will be rescued from abortion and pulled out of orphanages in the next week than from 2 decades ago. This is an amazing country. All of the faults that this person finds heartbreaking, they've been around since the fruit was eaten in the Garden of Eden. But we only just got the cures for so many diseases. We only just learned how to save the lives of so many children who now can't advance to old age. Latching onto the bad, it's a choice. Some people want to focus on the bad. I bet this person is a real joy to be around. I don't know him. He identifies himself as an elder in a church. You're an elder in a church, and your reaction to millions and millions of people excited to see the northern lights fan out across the skies. What a heartbreaking time to be alive. Think of all the dead babies that can't see it, as opposed to the billions who could. This entire planet has had child sacrifice since the beginning. We've only just learned how to keep life expectancy into the 70s and 80s. To his point, the Apostle John said he rejoiced greatly at the spread of the gospel. Peter said, and I quote, "Rejoice in as much as you participate in the sufferings of Christ." Paul said, "Rejoice always and pray without ceasing." Most especially the guy they got to hang out with that caused them the excitement to think that, yes, it was an amazing time to be alive. That guy, he said, "Let not your heart be troubled and to be of good cheer." And yet these people, they get so angry about it and they say, "Don't you know what time it is?" This is the phrase of social media. It's the phrase of the people who watch the news and they allow the melancholy and the malcontentedness to fester. And they say, "Don't you know what time it is?" They've traded the fruits of the Spirit for the spirit of the age. That's what they've done. The spirit of the age is malcontentedness, hard-heartedness, anger, and a disposition against your neighbor. The world fell at Eden, but the kingdom advances. You know, as a side note here, if you're someone who goes to church, you'll hear this, that the reason Jesus was born when he was born was because of the Roman Empire. You needed the Roman Empire to make it, easy to get back and forth between Judah and Egypt when his family had to flee and then return, but then for the advance of the gospel and the trade routes and everything else, none of that was developed until that moment that made the gospel spread very easily. Could not have happened a moment before the Roman Empire. Scripture says Christ won't come back until every eye can see him. A moment in time that did not exist until right now, when the whole world can witness the same thing at the same time in a collective shared experience, streamed globally, digitally, at the speed of light to the device in the palm of our hand. That excites me. What an amazing time to be alive. Every day we're moving closer to eternity, and God shows us wonders along the way. What an amazing time to be alive. The fact that people want to see the amazing times we live in, the amazing progress in human life, and they want to focus on the bad that's always been there. They want to focus on the sin that's always been there. They want to focus on the bad. They want to focus on despair. That's a choice. It's a choice to be a victim, and you don't process yourself as a victim, but that's what you've become. You've become a victim to the times, and these times aren't any worse than the old times, except you just know more about it because the news channels and social media cater to your despair and your need to be a victim to amp you up on it, and you choose not to look at the good. A week ago, we saw the northern lights. In the south, they saw the southern lights. People from Australia had as much a show as people in middle Georgia and elsewhere. And people got to use the technology in their pocket to document it. Now, this isn't a theological point. This is a historical point. A lot of scholars, archaeologists and scientists and others actually think one of the earliest written, documented examples of people seeing the northern lights actually occurs in the Hebrew Scripture. A lot of scientists have studied a particular passage of the Bible, and they think this is a description of the northern lights making its way to the Middle East, that at some celestial phenomenon must have happened, much like we had last week. At the very beginning of the book of Ezekiel, I looked and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning surrounded by brilliant light. I saw that a week ago. Last night, I saw my wife watch our daughter walk across the stage and get her high school diploma, something doctors told us would not be possible 8 years ago. And yet here we were. What an amazing time for all of us to be alive. Despair is a choice. You know what else is a choice? Joy, which cometh in the morning.
I'm James McComb, reporting live from home in my bathrobe and slippers. Tonight, we're talking Dunkin' Polar Peppermint Coffee. Gene's here with the latest. Gene, do you copy?
The home with Dunkin' is where you want to be.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. I got asked during break. So the just so you know where it comes from, it actually is a pretty thing to read. It's Psalm 30. Sing unto the Lord, O you saints of his, and give thanks at the remembrance of his holiness, for his anger endureth but a moment, in his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. That's it. That's where it is. Y'all can look it up. That's the King James Version, Psalm 30. Okay, we got to move on to, we got a lot of news to talk about. First, we need to begin in Texas, where the governor of Texas has pardoned Daniel Perry. Daniel Perry was found guilty in, I think it was Austin, by a pretty progressive jury pursued by progressive prosecutors for shooting someone. What you don't know until you get to the 10th paragraph of the New York Times article is that the man who Daniel Perry shot was pointing an AK-47 at Daniel Perry. There was a Black Lives Matters protest in Austin. Daniel Perry was trying to get somewhere. Protesters pointed guns at Daniel Perry, and he retaliated by firing on them. The left-wing prosecutor actually made it very clear the reason they were prosecuting Daniel Perry is because he was a white man who did not respect the protesters protesting for Black Lives Matter. Never mind that they were armed and pointing guns at Daniel Perry, who was scared for his life. They wanted to make an example of Daniel Perry as a privileged white man. The prosecutors themselves made that case, and progressives on a jury found him guilty. The governor of Texas has pardoned Daniel Perry, and there is outrage. I mean, this is actually the headline of the New York Times. Texas governor pardons man in fatal shooting of protester in 2020. The man, Daniel S. Perry, was convicted of killing a protester during a Black Lives Matter demonstration, notice the word, in Austin. You got to go 10 paragraphs in to find out that the protester was, or our demonstrator, I guess, was armed, pointing an AK-47 at Daniel Perry. Just little inconvenient facts they'd prefer you not to know so they can make it seem like a matter of white privilege and Republican power. Good, by the way, for Governor Abbott. We've invited him to the gathering. If y'all want to come to the gathering, text ENGAGE to 33777 and buy yourself some tickets. Would love to have you come to Atlanta in August, and hopefully Governor Abbott will be able to make it. Now, I got to tell you about Hillsdale College. They, my friends, want to give you Imprimis for free. I've never paid a penny for it. Since I was in law school, I've never paid a penny for Imprimis, and you can get your copy of Imprimis at ericforhillsdale.com. It features leading insights from conservatives around the country. It is a great publication, very thoughtful, very well done. It's never a long read, but it's always a great read. You can get Chris Rufo in it, Heather McDonald, Larry Arnn, Victor Davis Hanson, so many more. ericforhillsdale.com, ERICK. It's completely free. Why? Because Hillsdale College believes in not just educating their kids on campus, but educating America. It is part of their mission of education, so they put it out for free. ericforhillsdale.com, ERICK for Hillsdale.com. You go sign up, you get Imprimis in your mailbox, you start reading it. It's a great way also to engage with Hillsdale College. Such a great publication, such a great institution. ericforhillsdale.com. Go sign up for free today.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means. It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop Amazon for all your gifting needs.
Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. It is an open line Friday. If you will please text data to 33777. I'm going to send you back 2 links. The first one is the show notes. If you subscribe to it, you'll see my morning piece about what an amazing time it is to be alive. But in all seriousness, y'all would do me a big favor if you click the second link and order my book. It's on sale now at Amazon.com. It's a pre-order. It comes out in a couple of weeks, and I had a great meeting with publisher this morning. I have not written a book like this in quite some time. I was a little bit apprehensive about it, but I have written this book. It's You Shall Be as Gods. The subtitle is Pagans, Progressives, and the Rise of the Woke Gnostic Left. And if you would do me a favor and order my book, I would appreciate it. Just text data to 33777. I will send you back the link, and you can order it. You get a discount at Amazon right now for the pre-order phase. And we're working on me doing the audio book. But yeah, you would help me tremendously if you would be kind enough to order my book. I think you'll like it too. Now, let me go to the phone here. Dwayne, you're going to be up first. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. I'm good. First, let me give you props on that first segment. My wife actually came to tears a little bit. It's powerful stuff, and it was good, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, my first question, and then I want to just throw in a second little observation at the end if you want to comment on that as well. But my question is, okay, let's say on some freak chance Trump gets acquitted, okay? Because the common expectation is guilty or, a hung jury because one Trump guy got on there. But, Anderson Cooper says it looks bad. DeRoy Murdoch wrote that editorial about possibly. If by some freak Trump got acquitted, would there possibly be a very positive poll bounce for him for independents that said, look, he's right? Okay, so that was my question. And then number 2, if you want to comment on this, I've seen some still pictures lately of Trump with Barron. And Barron's actually even taller than him. And Barron seems like he's really mad. I mean, it's almost like he's seething. And I can only imagine how he can feel now at the age of 18, a young man now, and his his father, 60 years older than him, is sitting there having to deal with all this stuff. And he's just waiting his turn to fight the battle. That's all I wanted. I'll hang up and let you talk. All right,
listen. Okay, Dwayne, I appreciate it. I hadn't seen those pictures of Barron, but that is a tall kid. That is a tall kid. And I do also kind of wonder if he's heard the details about after his mom had just delivered him what his dad was doing. He might be mad about that. But look, this isn't – I was going to get into this later. We'll save Scotty Scheffler now for the next little while. It's Dwayne's fault. Things are not going well for the prosecution in New York. They're not. Let me play you some audio. And the reason I want to play you audio, and I want to put this in first perspective, is NBC News legal analyst. Listen to him first. It's important you hear him first.
Danny, let's bring you in here. How significant a moment was that? I mean, does that really give the jury something to doubt here?
It's significant, but I appear to be in the minority. A lot of folks seem to think this was a devastating blow for the prosecution. I don't see it that way. I doubt the prosecution sees it that way. I would bet the defense doesn't even consider it that. Michael Cohen is a cooperating witness. By definition, he's a guy who has credibility issues. So when you're asking him about a phone call, and if you catch him, they're going to say in a lie or maybe forgetting what the reason was for his phone call 8 years ago, a couple things could happen. The jury might think, oh, he's concealing it, which is bad for the prosecution, or they may just conclude it was 8 years ago. He just doesn't remember. So really, I don't think it was a devastating blow to the prosecution, but it's something they may want to clean up on redirect. Do look for the defense to focus on that phone call in their closing and say, Michael Cohen himself has reasonable doubt about whether or not he even called Donald Trump.
Now, I can stop there, but he is in the minority. This is the commentary at CNN on this case.
Either fabricator, liar, or forgetful person.
I'm sorry, this is MSNBC.
That makes the district attorney's office look sloppy, in addition to making Michael Cohen seem like a self-assured either fabricator, liar, or forgetful person. It casts doubt on the veracity of a ton of his testimony, and not just about who he did or didn't talk to on October 24th or October 26th. It sort of casts lots of his testimony in doubt, given the passage of time, and makes the district attorney's office look terrible all in one breath. This is a moment of real triumph for Todd Blanche. You could even hear it in his voice. He is not a person to get excitable very easily.
Yes. Listen, let me explain to you just how bad Michael Cohen's testimony was for the prosecution. It was not a major topic on MSNBC this morning. That's how you know it was bad. This at CNN.
Falsus in unum, I think that's the fancy Latin phrase, which for the rest of us means if you lied about one thing, I don't have to believe another thing that you say, and that is exactly what the judge will instruct the jury. If you find anything that a witness said to be untrue, to be incredible, to be a lie, feel free to disregard the entirety of that witness's testimony.
Yes, and Cohen was caught repeatedly in lies. This again from CNN.
Michael Cohen said he never sought a job at the White House. Brian Lanza here, who worked on the 2016 campaign, says that's not true. He recalls Michael Cohen wanting to be White House counsel. We have some journalists on our panel here saying that's not true. They recall Michael Cohen saying he was going to join the White House. He was very excited to do so. According to Blanche, by the way, Cohen, this is about the harassing calls. Cohen said the person they would have to explain to the Secret Service. The person replied, "I'm 14, please don't do this." This is when Michael Cohen was getting harassing phone calls. There is a block feature on phones, by the way, if you're getting harassing phone calls. In any case, Alyssa Farah Griffin, tell me, what do you think?
So listen, I was working for a number of Republican lawmakers at that time, several of whom would go into the administration, including Mick Mulvaney as OMB director, and it was widely known and believed. Now, Michael Cohen never told me firsthand, I'm going into the White House, I want to, but it was widely discussed that he was angling for Attorney General or to be White House counsel. There's dozens and dozens of people around Washington who could corroborate that. My jaw hit the floor when I heard him denying that. And as a practical matter, which is probably extraneous to this discussion, but I'll share anyway, he likely wouldn't have qualified for a job in the West Wing. You have to be able to get a top secret security clearance. They would have gone through his finances. Frankly, this home equity line probably would have shown up. The payment that he got back likely would have shown up on a financial disclosure. But yeah, that really struck me. And to be honest, I do not think this is going the way the prosecution had hoped.
Yeah, not a good day for the prosecution. Michael Cohen is a known fabulist. He is. He's been convicted. He's a felon. But you're so desperate. This is, you know, I need to say this. This trial against Trump is a microcosm of all of the problems about going after Trump, and that is that the left is so desperate to get Donald Trump on something, they can't get him on anything. When you throw all the spaghetti at the wall, remember James Carville the other day, they're throwing all the spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. Nothing sticks. James Carville says they're even throwing me at the wall and I'm not sticking. They well overplayed their hand. Now, here also, this is the other thing, is every major Democrat knew this was a bad case. When the facts came out, remember when the facts came out last March as to how Alvin Bragg was charging Donald Trump, people stopped talking about the case on the left. It's important again to remember what's going on here. Alvin Bragg is charging Donald Trump under a state law that has a statute of limitations of 2 years, which means he can't prosecute Donald Trump. The only way to get around it was to claim that Donald Trump committed or attempted to commit a federal crime in order to do document fraud. And what's happening is there's never been a prosecution of Donald Trump for a federal crime, and federal law says only the federal government can prosecute you for that crime, which they never did. So Alvin Bragg is attempting to prosecute Donald Trump for a federal crime, using it as a presuppositional case to prosecute him for a state crime. There's just not a way to do that, and his case is falling apart under the weight of the evidence of the witnesses. It's been salacious. They've hoped to drag it out. They've hoped to run Donald Trump through the mud, which to a degree they have, but that's not the legal standard. There's also another angle on this that you need to understand, and this is probably the bigger point. Donald Trump is being prosecuted essentially under the theory that had he not covered this up, people would have seen it and it would have cost him the election. He's being prosecuted for covering something up in order to save his electoral chances. Just yesterday, the President of the United States declared executive privilege so that he did not have to release the audio of his conversation with special prosecutors. Because in his own words, the Republicans might use it for politics. So Donald Trump is being prosecuted for blocking something, and Joe Biden is using executive privilege to block something, both of which are about an election and the chances in an election. And the media and the Democrats are giving Joe Biden a pass while trying to throw Donald Trump in jail. That's rather staggering when you put it in that way. And it can be put in that way because it is true. It absolutely is true. The other angle of this, however, though, is that the rule for a campaign finance violation, which is what the prosecutors alleged in New York, is that this would not have happened but for an election, except Donald Trump and Melania Trump had a massive prenup. He would pay her a lot of money if it came out he had cheated on her with a porn star. And so when Stormy Daniels says she was going to go public, of course he was going to pay her to shut up because he didn't want to pay even more money to Melania Trump in a prenup. It doesn't meet the rules of a campaign finance violation. Therefore, it doesn't meet the rules for documentary fraud under the state of New York because it doesn't meet the rules of an intent to cover something up in violation of law. And the whole case is falling apart. They threw everything at Donald Trump and they can get nothing to stick at Donald Trump. And the reason is because in this particular case, there are so many things you could go after Donald Trump for, but not this. And also, the public voted for Donald Trump after seeing with their own eyes a video where he bragged about grabbing women by their you-know-what. Do you really think the public is, having voted for him after that, going to say, he cheated on his wife with a porn star? Oh, that's a bridge too far for me. That's essentially what they've done with this case. They want to drag him through the mud and make him unacceptable to people. And all it's done is it's made a whole lot of Americans, including people who don't like Donald Trump, think, man, they really are using the judicial system to try to beat this guy because they can't beat him at the ballot box. They've destroyed their own credibility. Honestly, it is one of the more remarkable things I think I've witnessed in legal strategy, and Michael Cohen just completely blew that whole case off the rails. Now, I got to tell you about Vision Computers before I get out of here, because I got a question yesterday from someone about if they get their computers, they're thinking of their office needs computer upgrades. They want to use Vision. Could I point them in the right direction? 404 Compute. I said, listen, they will sit down with you and they will talk to you about your business and what your needs are. Or if you're an individual or you got kids going off to college like I do and they need a computer, Vision will spend a few minutes with you. They're not going to give you a one-size-fits-all. They're going to say, what do you need your computer for? Do you need the really fast GPU? Probably not. If your kid's a gamer, probably so. If your kid's going into engineering and using AutoCAD, probably so. They're going to build you a computer you need, and then they're going to give you their world-class tech support, complimentary. 15 seconds or less, you'll be able to get the answer to your computer problems. However, if you are a business or an individual right now who has a PC that you didn't get from Vision, same thing, for a small annual fee, not a monthly fee, but an annual fee, $179 for business per computer. They will be your world-class tech support. You can call them Faster than Google search, you can get the answer for what's going on with your computer. You need to know how to do something on your computer, and you don't know where the setting is, how to do something, they'll get it for you. Something's wrong, they can remote in. They can help you with email, printer support, all that sort of stuff. VisionComputers.com or 404-COMPUTE. 404-COMPUTE. Call them and tell them I sent you. They're going to give you an even better deal. 404-COMPUTE or VisionComputers.com.
Blinds.com Cyber Monday Last Chance is happening now. Don't miss out on up to 45% off site-wide. A Blinds.com design expert can help you make the perfect selection on your schedule. We can handle everything from measure to your whole home installed for one low cost. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Save up to 45% site-wide, plus a free professional measure right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. Wherever you are nationwide, if you're buying a business, building a building, buying a franchise, or you need an equipment loan, First Liberty might just be able to help you. They make their own lending decisions. They have since the 90s. They help businesses grow. FirstLibertyGA.com. FirstLibertyGA.com. Well, Jody Cantor at the New York Times has a hit job on Sam Alito with a picture of his house that it's flying an upside-down American flag. Turns out they're trying to tie it to January 6th. It turns out that Mrs. Alito did it. That a neighbor referred to Mrs. Alito as the C word, telling her essentially her husband was to blame for January 6th, for enabling Donald Trump. When Mrs. Alito went over and suggested to him that since kids walk by that guy's house on their way to school, it was inappropriate to have an F Trump sign in his yard. When she confronted him about his profanity on the sign that kids could see, he called her the C word. Blamed her husband for Donald Trump and all of life's ills, and she went home and hoisted her American flag upside down, at which point it seems one of the neighbors, possibly that guy, took a picture of it and has been saving it for the right time to go after Sam Alito. Now, the moral of the story here actually is what's going on is they tried to shame and defame Clarence Thomas. It did not work. They did not drive Clarence Thomas from the court, so now they're trying to do the same thing to Sam Alito. This is an organized attack on the conservatives on the Supreme Court. That's what's actually happening here. Now, I've seen some reporters say Mrs. Alito should have gone to the New York Times with that story instead of going to Fox News. She went to Fox News with her side of the story. Then the reporter's like, just fanning the flames of the story. Should have gone to the New York Times. Should have, instead of giving him a printed statement, should have talked to him. No, why? Why? The New York Times is not a place that is anything but hostile to conservatives on the Supreme Court. Why would you want to deal with them? Who cares? I think the reporters are missing the point on this, that none of us trust the reporters of the New York Times. None of us trust the press. This is the age we live in. But that's the story, just so you know. According to the reporters who did interview Mrs. Alito, she, not her husband, hoisted this. It was right before Joe Biden's inauguration that the flag appeared in the yard upside down. And now it's being used as an attack on them to say, they were doing it because of Joe Biden's inauguration. No, she was doing it because her next door neighbor had an F Trump sign in the yard. And when she told him it might not be appropriate for kids to walk past and see, he called her the C word and blamed her husband for the world's ills. They live in a very progressive neighborhood in Chevy Chase, Maryland. They should move at this point, to be quite honest with you. But knowing Mrs. Alito, she's not going to be bullied by her neighbors. So now we will move on. When we come back, I will take on Scotty Scheffler. Well, not really take on Scotty Scheffler. What a wild story to wake up to this morning. The world's #1 golfer, fresh off being a dad, gets arrested in the dark and rain at 5:45 in the morning trying to get into the golf course to start warming up before his 7:30 tee time. Gets a mug shotted in an orange jumpsuit, and the cop is in the hospital, who apparently pooped his britches.